This is Linda Hunt and the Marketplace Connection. Come and go with us as we visit the 7 cultural mountains where you will receive information that will expand your capacity and upgrade your thinking because God wants to give you more. Join me for the next hour as I connect you to the marketplace. Good morning, my Saturday morning connectors. This is the Marketplace Connection, and I am your host, Linda Hunt. I am so grateful and so thankful to be here once again with you, my listening and viewing audience who have been so faithful to follow me for over the past 5 years, over 500 interviews, and we are just so happy about the interview that we are going to have today. So I want you to tell a neighbor, tell a friend that the Marketplace Connection is on the air and that we have some wonderful information that I'm sure that you will be interested in today. We have a wonderful woman that is going to be talking about government. And you know the Marketplace Connection, we go to every cultural mountain. And so today we are visiting the government mountain with a woman that is a Michigan State House of Representatives Democrat in the state of Michigan, the House of Representatives. And we are so glad to have Miss LaTanya Garret here this morning.
Thank you for having me.
We are excited about what is happening in and across the state. We're excited about your part that you play in the state. I know it is a very hectic job.
It is. It's rewarding.
Rewarding. Right. Serving the people. And so we thank God for her life, for what she is doing. And just before we get started, and I introduce you by reading a little bit of her bio, I just want to thank my sponsors there at Northland Chrysler, Jeep, Dodge, and Ram. They're on West 8 Mile, 14100 West 8 Mile in the city of Royal Oak. And we just thank you for being such wonderful sponsors. They've been sponsors for me for the past 3 months now. And we just thank God for them and all that they're doing. So this is the time of the year. If you are looking for that 2019 deal or the end of the month deal. So you got 2 things working for you. How do I know? Because I sold cars for 15 years. So I know this is the time that the salespeople get excited about seeing people come into the dealership. So this is the time. Go there, visit my friends, ask for the manager, Mike, or Mr. Ken Thomas, and they can give you the deal of the lifetime. And then if you're looking for 2020, they are already in the showroom, so you can be that first person on your block that's driving that new 2020 there from Northland Chrysler, Jeep, and Dodge. So now we'll talk a little bit about my guest and all that she is doing. Miss LaTanya Garret is a state representative. She is currently in her 3rd term in the Michigan House of Representatives, and she serves the Michigan 7th House District, which encompasses a portion of Northwest Detroit and the city of Detroit. Presently in her 3rd term, she serves on the Health Policies, Family, Children, and Seniors Legislative Councils committees, as well as the Joint Committee on Administrative Rules. She is a continuation, Representative Garret is a continuation of a long family legacy that is committed to public service. That is wonderful. Yeah. And in her experience before coming to the legislature, she worked diligently as a community activist and was a top assistant on several political campaigns. Her number 1 motto is people before politics. I like that. People before politics, which is why she is committed to being a resource and advocate for her community. Well, we welcome you today.
Well, thank you for having me. It's always a pleasure to be here sitting at the table. You know, that's one of the reasons why I ran. It's like, hey, I got to have a voice.
That's right.
And so when you're sitting at the table,
you can make decisions and you're not on the menu, as they say.
I don't want to be on the menu. I want to be part of the main
That's right. That's right. Because on the menu, you know, they're cutting things and no, we don't want that. No, you know, just kind of like when you go to the restaurant. No, I don't like that. No, I don't want that. You know.
And it's funny because we own a restaurant.
Oh, really?
So I like to. I just like to be, you know, in charge of the menu,
okay.
as we say. I want to have input as what goes on and what
Okay.
comes off.
Okay.
So, yep, me and my husband also owns a restaurant. I just thought about saying that since we talked about menus.
That's right. We got to give him a shout out too.
Yep, Anthony Faustine over at Faustina's Creole and Soul Food.
Oh, yeah, I know where that is.
Wyoming off of Puritan, between Puritan and Mary Grove.
Right,
Yep,
absolutely.
So that's my big honcho.
Okay. So do you cook too?
I do. I always tell people, don't let it be mistaken. My husband does not cook at home at all. If we want some kibbles, we have to go over to the restaurant and get some. No, he does not cook at home.
He does all his cooking at the restaurant.
At the restaurant. So the kids, and it's funny because like last Thanksgiving, the kids came up and they was whispering like, "Mom, can you cook Thanksgiving dinner?" They love Thanksgiving dinner from him. But see, I was raised by my grandmother. And so they're like, "You haven't cooked in 2 Thanksgivings, so I had to do Thanksgiving dinner." But the sad part about it is that he had already cooked Thanksgiving dinner, so I had to go back and cook more of the same things. So I'm like, this is terrible.
They want
How do
mama's
we tell?
cooking.
Yeah.
There's nothing like mama's cooking.
It's not.
Okay?
I don't care how good a man can cook.
That's right. That's right.
Ain't nothing
I
happening.
already know. You know, my daughter, and I know she's probably watching. They flew me out to Arizona. And it was for a twofold purpose. Trust me, it was not only just for me to come and visit them, but for me to cook Thanksgiving dinner. Right?
Oh, yeah. You got swindled.
Right.
Swindled
Soon
into
as
a
I got off
role.
the plane.
Yep, they wanted that mac.
They wanted that mac and cheese and the dressing and all of the fixings to go with it, pies, cakes, all of that.
Like
So
mama.
I do understand, and I don't mind because I do love cooking too.
But see, I was upset because I'm like, well, dinner is already prepared and I get to rest, and I have a 16-year-old and one that just turned 18. So they was like, no, but you haven't cooked in a while. So they don't let me off the hook. It's no mercy in
They
my
don't
household.
have no mercy just because you the state rep.
No, they don't even understand that one yet. That still haven't sunk in until probably I'm leaving. I'm like, whatever. But yeah, those are, a couple of my roles.
Well, we do applaud you as a woman in the political arena. A wife, a mother, a daughter, a sister. How do you manage all of those roles anyway? Now that we're on that, how do you manage that?
I'm trying to figure it out. It's tough. It's tough. And the reason I say it's tough is because I am the oldest of 3, but my brother does not stay. He's a truck driver, so he's everywhere. Like today, he's in Chicago.
Okay.
And then my sister works in a high-profile salon in California.
Okay.
So my grandmother is passed, my granddaddy is passed, my mom is passed, my dad is passed. So we don't have that grandmother support or, grandparents as most kids, children that have kids do.
Right.
So we have to kind of wing it, and it's rough. Last night I went to sleep with a babysitter, and today I woke up, I didn't have a babysitter. So I'm like, what in the stew? And it happens more so on a regular, but I always have a backup. And today my son thought he was going to play ball a little early, and unfortunately I'm like, nope, I'm sorry. Different plans. I got an interview, so you have to. And I try to compensate them and reward them, but I come from a very supportive family. My aunt had just left, and only thing I told her, I'm like, the baby's about to really have a meltdown, so let me leave out the house first, then you leave. So she stayed an extra 15 minutes just to get her calm or whatever. I totally lean on my family support, but some days it can be overwhelming because my last baby was born with a rare form of epilepsy. So we have to be careful of when we're leaving and making sure that everything is in place. But it's challenging. It's a balance in that. It's like balancing the budget of the state, right? Things ain't right, man. You got to just figure out where to shift stuff around and make sure that we still flowing in the right direction.
That's what mothers do. We make it all work.
But ultimately, this is something I prayed about. A lot of my family members, the women, we're married with families. My great-grandparents was married for over 40-something years and, come from a really stable background. And so, I remember them just growing up. My great-grandmother and my grandmother were nurses. And then all 8 of my aunts, except for one, were nurses. And then my one aunt currently she's a judge.
Okay.
And so we come from a long family of servitude and just knowing how to support one another, which really means a lot. So if I get in a true bind,
You got help.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'll call the judge and be like, look, you have to ride with me. And she comes. She
Okay.
comes. That's just like when my daughter was born. My husband couldn't keep the restaurant closed for weeks at a time. So she came over to Cleveland and she sat with me. And I was like, I'm having a breakdown. So she came. And then, the rest of my family members, they get a little concerned and they come. If I
Okay.
need them. But
Well,
it's
that's
a
good.
balance. It's
That's
a balance.
good.
I'm not telling you I don't have those stressful days. Because I was driving in a moose out moment this morning. I'm like, whew, I'm going to get to 9 Mile. It's going to be okay.
I know.
So,
Well, we're going to talk about them roads.
oh, Lord. Okay. Yeah.
So you
We'll get
are
there.
in your third, and this your final term?
It is.
Oh,
It
yeah.
is.
So
And-
you only serve 2 terms. Every
Serve 3.
Okay.
We have 3 2-year terms
3
in the house.
2-year terms. So
Yep.
you have up to 6 years.
Up to 6 years. And then in
okay.
the Senate, it's 2 4-year terms.
Oh, okay. So they have
So-
8 years. You have 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think that's going to be changed. I hope. I've been praying.
Okay.
Senator Shirkey had been talking about it, but it hasn't hit. Nothing is on the surface yet. And I'm like, is it going to come to the surface before I leave here?
Okay.
Or what? But yeah, I'm in my 3rd term.
And you have to run every 2 years.
Every 2 years. It feels like, really, when you think about it, it feels like every year.
Okay.
Because by the time election cycle, by the time we finish just a off year, it's time to start campaigning again. And so
Okay. So
it's
every
really
even
like,
year.
yeah.
Okay.
Yep. So I really love my job, though. it doesn't really feel like a job.
Yeah.
Because I'm doing something that I have always loved to do. And going back to the bio, I worked EMS, I'm EMT by
Right,
trade. Did a lot of volunteering in the house, went through nursing school, got my degree from Davenport in case management. So it's always been, my focus have always been surrounded by serving people in the
Okay.
best way I possibly could have. And then, as you see, have a restaurant, I serve.
Right.
So,
you
in
do
some
work
capacity.
you work in a restaurant too sometimes?
Oh yeah, we get we get good staff, and then we get those that just don't value jobs.
Right.
And so they call off when they want to. And
Yeah,
so
that's
I
everywhere.
I felt really bad for my husband last week. He was the cook, he was the cashier, he was the dishwasher.
Oh my goodness.
I had like 4 community meetings, and I was like, let me just do the second one, and I'm coming back.
Yeah.
And so, but I had to work with the baby at the cashier. It was a mess. We got it done, but it was a mess. I'm telling you. I told my aunt, I said, at some point I'll write a book
Okay.
to tell
Okay.
people how to survive as a
Come
woman.
on.
But the thing about it all, in all honesty, these were things that as a child I prayed for. And so,
How old is your baby?
sometimes the last one is 2.5.
And your other?
18 is the oldest,
Okay.
and 16 is my middle child.
Oh my goodness, you don't
So-
look like you have an 18-year-old.
I know, that's what they tell me. So thank you. So we actually look like sisters. And, she's, as my grandmother used to say, she's in that mode of smelling herself.
Oh yeah.
She's trying to figure out life. She
Yeah,
just
that's
graduated from
it.
Ben Carson High School.
Okay.
And she came out, fortunately, with her medical assistant.
Okay.
And so she's over at Phlebotomy Express in the district,
Okay.
Kimberly. And she's taking the phlebotomy course. I'm like, so when you get ready to go to school, you don't have to call home for money. Be self-sufficient.
Right.
I've always been,
Right.
motivated to get
That's
my
right.
own. When I was in high school, my grandmother never had to pay for anything because I did hair.
Wow.
And so I went to hair school. So I'm just saying, get your own.
That's right. That's
It's
right.
okay, but you
and
can't
they-
be a burden all your
That's
life, right?
And they need to have more than one skill. Do nails. When you're in college, or because I used to tell my granddaughter that. And she did nails. Her and her girlfriends,
Yep.
they do each other's hair and makeup and all of
Yes.
that, and that helps you help the
It
parents.
helps. It helps.
So those little things that you want.
And believe it or not, this morning before I came here, I had to curl my aunt hair. I was trying to get her to wait, but she wasn't having it. And so even being a woman in government, those are some of my side hustles.
Right.
But I'll tell you what, I've made more money off of hair than any job I've ever
I
had.
can imagine.
I I never go hungry.
When women, hey, we always want to look good.
Exactly. So it's been a journey. So I'm serving in the house, and it's really kind of sad for me right now. It's a bittersweet moment. So I've been going to my senior buildings every week. Yesterday I was with them, and he was like, "What? Your last term?" I'm like, yes.
Oh.
This is so bittersweet.
Oh. Well, you're my house representative too in my district.
Yep.
Yeah, in the 7th district. So, so I'm sad to see you go too, because, I look forward to your mailers and the different information that you would keep us up on things that are happening in the house.
So I vetted a client. I vetted another constituent that's within the district. I'll let her make her own debut. But we have somebody that I think that's really qualified to run, that we can truly hold accountable.
Okay.
And it took me about 3 years to really find somebody that really had a passion that I've had to really service and not just use it as a government stepping stone. A lot of times people use positions like this to see where they're going next,
right?
Not about the constituents, and that can be kind of like a downfall for us. So I think we have somebody
good candidate. Okay, well that's good.
That really will serve.
That's good. And so your boundaries are Northwest Detroit.
So I start at the east side of Greenfield, right at Puritan and between Puritan and West McNichols, and then I go all the way to Livernois on the west side of Livernois, and I kind of pick up at Livernois and 6 Mile, because Wendell Bird is more so, he got the Palmer Woods, he got all the high echelon stuff.
Sherwood Forest.
Okay. But I have Bagley, and right at Bagley, I kind of go off to on West McNichols on the north side. No, I'm sorry, south side. Okay. And I go to Highland Park.
Okay.
Yeah, so you can't leave Highland Park out, because, honey, they'll assassinate you.
Yeah.
If this is Facebook Live, they'll be like, "Oh, you didn't mention us." They probably won't speak to me for a couple weeks.
Well, we are glad, because Highland Park, is coming back. It had been a city that had, a lot of devastation, a lot of things that was, going, people moving out, homes that were vacant. But I see that there's some things that are happening, over in Highland Park. So finally, as they're moving down Woodward, I see that they're moving, some housing.
But I can't skip over it.
Yeah,
I always tell Highland Park.
It's a part of Detroit, really, when you think about it.
It is.
It's so close to, Detroit. I mean, you can't forget Highland Park.
So
we shout out to you, Highland Parkers.
Thank you, because them Parkers don't forget nothing. I always tell them, though, even, when they started with the Midtown and the downtown initiatives, I'm like, look, people, they can't skip over Highland Park.
Right.
So don't sleep on this one.
Right.
But, get in the move of things while things are happening. So they got to come up with work. They have to.
Yeah.
So,
all right.
Yeah, them Parkers something else, but shout out.
So what was your motivation to move from being a first responder to running for the State House? What motivated you?
It was breaking me down. No, that's not really. But, it's a true story. Well, one, I got tired of sitting at the dinner table with all my family members that serve, and I had to just listen to the stories. I didn't have any input. Okay. So I'm like, this can't be. I have to have something to say at Thanksgiving and Christmas dinner.
Politics.
So, and they would just, it was like a light went off every time they spoke about, whether it was my cousin Al Garret, that was the president over at ASME, Kathy Garret, the Wayne County clerk. Every time they spoke about...
I've had her on my show. Yeah.
She's just wonderful.
Yes,
every time they spoke about politics, the light bulb, the glow, it was just like pregnancy for them. They just glowed every time they spoke about it. So I wanted to experience that. But not only that, during the housing market crash, me and my husband actually moved into part of the worst parts of District 7, right there at Finkel in Wyoming. Very hard hit area. Believe it or not, that's where I stay. But the housing market was down, the school system was null and void, and there was just no voice in that particular community. Maybe around the Oakman area, as you know, Highland Park had been stripped of their public schools. They have charters, and now we're just getting a public institute back up and running, but they don't have a high school. So my thing was,
they don't have any. Wait a minute, they don't have any public schools in Highland Park?
Well, they have a public charter, and they have one charter. But thank God for the former acting, not emergency manager, but Kevin, who got the books. Me and him together worked really hard to get the books back in the positive. And so the school district is now flourishing in more of a positive state than it than a negative. So that was a lot of collaboration of kind of working off his knowledge over on the state side of things. So no, but they're moving back towards. I didn't know the high school had closed, because that
high school isn't that old.
Well, it's gone. They don't have a high school. Their children are bused out.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, but they're looking at reopening and rebuilding.
Good.
So we're in a very positive state. So I'm good that I can say that I came in and kind of ran on some things, and I was able, one thing that I did run on is that I'm able to collaborate. You know, I know how to be on my high end sometimes when I'm stern about things, but then too, when you're operating off of someone else's wisdom and knowledge, you have to, kind of absorb it and figure out what is the best way to go. And sometimes you have to humble yourself and say, okay, I'll take heed to what you're saying, and I'll kind of trust you on this. And so in doing so, we're moving. The train is now moving again.
That's
so
good.
I can,
Yeah, you can leave on a positive note.
Yes, because I was worried about that at first.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, God, between the water situation. I mean, my district, really, we get hit on everything. The environmental issues, especially the water, something we've been trying to fix since 2015, myself and Representative Stephanie Chang and Sheldon Neely up in Flint. We was the group that held the first hearing, water hearing, to try to figure out why Highland Park was built. Their billing was just through the roof. The meters were bad, and now they have a new metering company that comes in and kind of monitor the bills. And so we've gotten them down a little bit, not where they should be.
Right.
And then some of the lead issues, trying to figure out with the historical and the plumbing and everything. So we've had some great success.
So they had lead issues there in Highland Park as well?
Absolutely.
Oh, really?
Yeah. We've had lead issues from Detroit to Highland Park. It's really a national level because of not just infrastructure, but a lot of the homes are historical, and so
old
the
piping.
plumbing, it just needs to be redone. So I think we'll get to the point. I don't know if it'll be the next term or the term after, but I think before this governor leaves, we'll see some additional dollars in the budget to address the infrastructure problems. So it's been good.
So tell us, you mentioned some of your family, the long legacy committed to public service. So I know Kathy Garret, who was
Wayne
the
County clerk.
Wayne County clerk. And then you said judge. You have a judge?
Judge Ruth Garret, which is my aunt.
That's your aunt.
Yeah, she's been serving over 22 years at 36th District Court. And then we have our new judge, Austin Garrett, which is Al Garrett's son. He's on the bench at 36, and he just got married to Christina Robinson Garrett, who was appointed by Governor Whitmer. So she's on the bench at 36th District Court. Now, don't penalize us because this is happening. We're just saying we have some good public servants now that understand our issues when it comes to tickets and landlord tenants and criminal, because sometimes we find out that can be more of a negative, believe it or not, towards us than a positive. So really, we try not to really talk about it as much as our white counterparts, because it seemed like if there's a long lineage with them on the bench, it's okay. Right. But we found some very negative comments when it comes to who do they think they are. We just want to serve you. And then we have Kelly Garrett, who is the mayor over in Lathrop Village. And so Kelly's getting ready to get married. And so, and then Al Garrett asked me,
Okay.
And so yeah. And then,
Wow.
my other cousin, Carolyn Garrett, who serviced, asked me with her brother.
Now, was your father or mother or your grandfather, or how did it start? Was it any of them that?
Well, I think and then Jerry too worked with, it does contracting and stuff like that. But
Okay.
it kind of started a little bit before Al. It all came out of just basic public service.
Okay.
And then I think it really started with Al having some foresight that this is where he wanted his family to go.
Okay, all
And we always tell him at the dinner table, thank you.
All right.
Thank you
Okay.
for seeing the
So this is
bigger
the uncle?
picture. My cousin and Kathy's brother.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, see, there's like the Winans have the music family, the Clark
Yes.
sisters.
Yes.
And, so you all have a political family.
Yes.
All right.
Yes. And
That's
so
wonderful.
It's
So
it's been a journey.
any of the children, the next generation considering?
I don't know. I don't know. My daughter goes to a lot of, well, I won't say a lot, but she goes to quite a few community meetings.
Okay.
I don't think she's ready just yet. I want her to continue to find her area of
Okay.
comfort.
Okay.
I don't believe in pushing kids.
Right.
I think that we should figure out what their talent is.
Okay.
And right now she's starting her own business.
Okay.
And I before I kick her out the nest, I just want to make sure she's stable.
Right.
That she has the tools that she needs to be successful, and then we'll go from there.
Well, see, you've imparted the business aspect in her because,
Yes.
you and your husband having the restaurant. Mm-hmm. So,
And then I had my own hair business for a little bit
and
over
your
20
business,
years
so,
and nails
yeah.
and so on. Yeah,
So that's good.
It's been a journey. I'm telling you. People wonder. I had one of my colleagues. She went down to the African American Museum and she had saw a display where I had modeled for Kate Moss and Naomi Campbell. And she was like, I seen a book down at the African American Museum. Was that you? And I'm like, yeah. She was like, why don't you tell anybody? I'm like, for what? That's my journey. If someone asks, then
Right.
I'll tell them about some of my great successes. But I just want my children to kind of find
their place. Yeah,
their
that's
place
good.
of what they can wake up to and enjoy. Don't live
Okay.
off my dreams. I'm
Right.
doing mine.
Right. So
So-
tell us a little bit about women in politics. How has that been for you as a woman in politics and African American? How has that been for you?
As a black woman, it's very challenging. Believe it or not, I just got my first bill package passed in 4 years. This is
Okay.
my 5th year. So, yeah, the 5th year, I
Okay.
have just got my first bill package passed. When I came into the House, I was working with the Honorable Harvey Santana, who left us our last term. But we started working on a youth recidivism package, and that is to raise the age of how youth are convicted. So they can no longer be convicted at the age of not convicted, they can no longer be seen as an adult at 17. Now that has raised from 17 to 18 years old.
Now, what's the name of the package?
It's youth recidivism.
Okay.
It's a youth recidivism. I'm sorry, I could get the bill number for you. I
Okay.
can't remember all these bill
Okay,
numbers,
that's
but
okay.
before we
Okay.
leave, I will have that bill number for you.
Okay.
Look, the
so-
only one that's standing out in my head is this Senate Bill 1 auto NOFA. But we'll talk about that a whole nother time. But that is the one where people really drill you on, because this has been an initiative way before I was born. Martha G. Scott carried the auto insurance. She raised hell on that.
Okay.
Excuse me, but all in the house. What I found out is that she used to get up every day there was session and use her 5 minutes to talk about auto NOFA insurance reform, redlining in particular. And so finally the House just passed something. By all means, it's not a great package, but
Right.
we look at it as coming out the gate as a start. I didn't vote on the last one.
Okay.
I'm sorry. I voted, but I voted no
Okay.
on the last one. And then when we got this one, I was just saying to myself, where do you want to find yourself at? Trying to get something done or always complaining about what's not done.
Right.
And so this was probably one of my hardest votes since I've been in the legislature was the auto NOFA.
Yeah. I had a insurance agent, Sheila used last week from Nationwide. She's a Nationwide representative, and she was talking about, I guess, some of the things that are coming down in 2020, and one of those was the, I guess, the personal PIP, or the personal insurance protection, or something like that, injury protection, that's supposed to be the reason why our insurance is higher than anybody else across the country.
The PIP portion.
Yeah, the PIP portion.
Yeah, personal injury protection,
Yeah,
for you all
personal
that
injury
don't know
protection.
what PIP means. So when you see your auto bill, 60% of it is from what you are charged for PIP.
Right.
Okay, so the good thing about the bill, though, if no one else really sees a rate decrease, seniors can now
Yeah,
just
that's what she
totally opt out of the PIP portion. But the thing that I
Okay.
always try to tell my seniors is make sure that they're having some conversations with Medicare, because Medicare does not pay for long-term auto care.
Yeah, that's what she
in
said.
the event of a catastrophic
Right, like
accident.
if you had to
So-
have MRIs or continuation things that you had to have after an
in-home
accident.
care,
Yeah.
equipment that you may need. So that's just a conversation. But yesterday my seniors was saying, "Well, why get rid of it?" And I said, "Well, you all said that you wanted a
Lower
choice,
insurance.
So I'm trying to figure out which one do you want? Do you want lower insurance? I know we didn't want to get, but you still have the right to choose
So you
unlimited.
can okay.
A senior can totally opt out. Only seniors.
So you have a choice.
You have a choice.
Okay.
You can choose your level. If you can only afford 50 grand worth of it. But, I do encourage you, if you're saving on one end, always look at what a rider policy make. It may only cost you another $23. And I don't know, some people say that that's easier said than done. Well, we have to do our due diligence and kind of do our homework for ourselves. We can't, kind of depend on government all the time to make things happen for us. So, did I want to get rid of the catastrophic? We didn't get rid of the catastrophic, but we did get rid of making it mandatory. That's one way of looking at it.
Okay. All right.
So
Well,
that's been a huge win. For me to be
right,
in the legislator on my
right.
watch. It depends on who you're talking to. We won. I just put in a bill. I'll put it in next week. We just drafted it to try to exempt children totally, to where if they're in an accident, they just totally receive the unlimited amount of care, because
Okay.
I just think that it's unfair. These kids don't even drive.
Right.
And so if they're hit,
Yeah.
then they should be just cared for. Or
Right.
pedestrians. Representative Tanisha Yancey has a bill to kind of cover pedestrians as well.
Okay.
To kind of exempt them out. So it may not pass on our watch, but one thing about it is that those bills are in the system, and somebody will see it and they'll bring it back up. I'm
Okay.
hoping that it will pass on my watch, but if it doesn't, it's there.
Okay.
Yep,
All
yep,
right.
yep.
Well, we'll be looking forward.
Yes. And so
Well,
we just need those
yeah.
lobbying firms to
Right.
kind of, push those bills forward.
Okay.
And that's how bills either get held up or they pass. A lot of people don't know the actual legislature process. They think that you come up with an ideal and the bill hits the floor, and that's not the case. Sometimes bills can die as soon as they go to a committee.
So can people, if they want to come to Lansing, can they sit
Absolutely.
in on?
They
Okay.
can come in and testify.
Okay.
Anybody,
Oh, really?
that is the people's house. That's the
Okay.
taxpayer's house. And that's what I was telling my seniors the other day. I said, why haven't I seen anybody testifying on the insurance bills? Why was there no letters? And I've been talking about this since I've came into the legislature. Why are you not weighing in on these bills? Guess who I did hear from, though?
Okay.
The Upper Peninsula.
Okay.
I don't service any of them, but they weighed in so tough
Okay.
on what they wanted to see. And so to the Black community, it's saying you got to do more than just vote. You have to have conversation with these lobbying firms. You have to get out and lobby and say, even your community groups. Your community group should be calling your legislature, because that is that legislator's voting block to say, I don't care who else vote on this, but we don't want to see you vote yes or
Right.
vote no on
Right.
it. Or this is our position. If you vote yes, can you offer this amendment? Yes.
So the lobbying firms are people that necessarily want the bill to go in their favor.
In their favor, yes.
So they hire people to come in and to push if it's medicine or whatever,
Yes.
or it's a pharmaceutical firm or
Like DMC, the city of Detroit,
Okay.
has their own lobbying person. Excuse me. We have like Ford Motor Company. I mean, the big three may have a lobbying corps. Pharmaceutical companies may have their lobbying corps. Environmentals, they have Sierra Club is an environmental lobbying group. So there are plenty of lobbying groups. You can Google and say lobbying groups in the state of Michigan.
Okay.
And so one lobbying firm may represent a Walmart or Kroger's. And, you know, when representatives come out with all of these turkeys, we may have to contact a lobbying firm and say, hey, do you have any clients that can give 50 turkeys out to this community group? So those are building relationships, but those lobbying firms have clients that they represent. And so if
Okay.
they clients don't want to see a corporate tax increase,
Okay,
of
they
course,
send the lobbying. Okay.
and they don't go away. They do not go away.
Okay.
And they can
Persuade.
I hope I don't get in trouble
Yeah.
for this, but they yeah.
They can persuade.
They persuade you one way or the other. So you have to find out when you're electing people. You can kind of find out what side of the fence
what their record is.
Yeah, I don't
Okay.
want to give it all out,
Yeah.
but those are things you can ask your reps. But then, too, if they don't get support, then that's where the citizens have to step in. And, you know, either you want them to get support from a particular group or you don't. And if you don't, then the community have to stand behind those reps, because a lot of those reps in the event like the Senate Bill 1, which was the auto NOFA, we had two of my very close friends that lost their seats. Because, you know, one of the big administrations just sent out real bad material that wasn't true. But, you know, if it's constantly going to all your voters' homes
Right.
and we don't do our
Yeah.
homework, we'll see a headline and we'll run with it, even on social media. We will kill our own folks. And it's like, no, that was not the case. Do your homework, because this actual rep is working for you. And so we get kind of penalized sometimes when we go against the grain. And I've
Okay.
went against the grain a couple times and I felt some heat.
All right.
But
Hey,
you
that's
gotta
all a
figure
part
out
of-
what side
all
of
a
the
part
fence
of
you're
it.
on.
That's all a
but
part
you
of
don't
it.
want your rep out there
Yeah.
standing alone
No,
when it's all said
absolutely.
and done.
Yeah.
And so that's just part of the education piece of
Right.
this political climate. You know, you really don't just get to make decisions without some type of
Right. So where do you meet,
harassment.
you know, how do you meet with some of your constituents as far
Oh,
as
Lord.
bringing them up to date on some things?
So we have a list of all of our community groups that happen in my area, whether it be
Okay.
Bagley, Fitzgerald, Oakman Boulevard, Highland Park, City Council, 12th Precinct, 10th Precinct,
Okay.
8th Precinct. We find out when their meetings are. When I came into the House of Representatives, and even local block clubs. Some people may not have an actual community, but they may have a block by block club. So we find out when their meetings are, and my community liaison is not here, Helena Scott, but she does a really good job on balancing us out. Like today, Councilman Tate is having a meeting. I can't make it because I'm here, but she'll go swing by and see what the platform is, and then if there's something that they should know, then she'll weigh in
Yeah.
and then give me an update.
Yeah, because I've been to his meetings. I know at least he did. I don't know if I haven't been in a while. Was meeting at the Motor City Java House on.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one of his spots that he
Okay.
needed. Now, I don't share a portion of that area. That's more of Representative Gay Daniego.
Right.
They're more down to the Java House. I'm more so, I connect with Councilman Tate at Dabo,
Okay.
which is Wyoming and Grand River.
Okay.
So we kind of share about
Oh,
4 to
right.
6 blocks up in there. But, yeah, so we try to be visible at every meeting. If I'm not there,
Okay.
one of my
Okay.
staffers are there.
Okay.
I
And your
could tell
meetings
you.
are, how often do you usually have them?
Well, it depends on when the community meets.
Okay.
I go to their
meetings.
Yes.
Okay.
I don't.
Okay.
Now what
You don't
I
do a coffee hour or anything
I don't.
like that.
Well, yeah, I do a coffee hour, but I want it to be a little bit more skillful, because what I found out is that I have a lot of seniors that I serve, a lot of working moms, and a lot of fathers and families. So what I did was a coffee by conference. And so my constituents can just call in. I don't care if I'm out of town or wherever. At 5:30 on the first Monday of every month, except for maybe the holidays, because they don't want to talk to me about any legislation around about the holidays. So every first Monday, they get the call-in number. We email it out. They call in with their passcode, and they hear my update for 30 minutes. If, in fact, they have questions, I stay on longer. But if they don't have any questions, we hang up.
Okay.
And so sometimes I may have somebody from the healthcare industry to get on the line and explain, depending on what the issues are that I hear. If it's safety issues within a community, I may have somebody from the 12th or the 10th precinct or the police commissioners to kind of chime in. If it's something from the education arena, like we just had some questions for Dr. Nikolai Vitti. So the Detroit caucus got online with him. And then if there's additional questions, I'm having issues with my daycare providers because they haven't seen a rate increase and I can't tell when. And so we get on the phone, and if there's something that I think is pertinent to them, I'll either mention it before. I'll mention it at the coffee hours. If I think we need to mention it before, then I'll put out an email blast. Okay. And then, so I try to figure out how to reach them without them coming out their homes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we don't do.
Is it a number that you can give out, or is it just for those that are in?
Well, I don't have it with me because my staffer normally send it out. So if you want it, and you could be on our email list, what we have is a community email list that we just, every time something we deem is really pertinent or germane to our district, we just do an email blast. Okay. And so they kind of look for it. I'm sorry, we didn't bring the flyer, but we can send it to you.
Not a problem. Not a problem. So let's talk a little about these God blessed roads.
Bless us all. All I could do is say drive safe.
On the way here, it's like, I don't care where you go. It is, I mean, right now they're working on the road. But they do this every year.
Yeah.
And I was reading some of your information where some of our bordering states like Ohio, they're in the same kind of weather that we're in. But obviously there is something wrong with either the materials that they're using, that they're the materials that they're using, that it is, they're having to keep these roads every year. The roads, they have to do them every year. So what's going on with the materials that they're using with these roads?
Well, so they're not, because we have, and like you said, Ohio has the same type of weather. I mean, we're just not using the best materials. The governor has an initiative, and she wants to get the damn roads done.
Right. That's what she said.
And we want to get the damn roads done.
That was part of her platform.
It is. And so, right now, unfortunately, we are kind of like in a war. The Republicans run the House, and I know, don't think this as an excuse, people, because really it's not an excuse. When you're in politics, it's a numbers game. Okay. Right? And so if the Republicans are running the House, I don't care how many bills we have to address truck weights. We want to see toll roads on some roads. We want to see corporations pay their fair share tax. All of those bills are out there. We want to change materials. We don't want the water companies coming back after the roads have been paved to come and put new plumbing in. It's like, why can't we have a better coordinating effort? Yeah. So all of these issues are out there. And if you look on Michigan.gov, you can look up every bill pertaining to roads, right? But right now, unfortunately, we are in a war. If you look at the budget that just passed, unfortunately, it was our governor vetoed 147 line items, and so the roads was the hardest hit area at 300, and I think I want to say about 60 or $70 million. And so right now, if we don't get a supplemental back in to put that funding or some of the funding back in, I can't tell you where the state of our roads are gonna will be until the next budget cycle. So I mean, as bad as we want it done, do we need an additional tax, an additional bonding? We talked about that. What is it? I think we understand what it is that we need, but it's like you have to kind of coordinate and get on one accord with the Republicans. It's election season.
Yeah.
Nobody wants our governor to have all of these accolades because the Republicans are trying to win seats.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So we have to really look at. That's why it's important to get out and vote.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Come on.
I don't care if you think your vote don't count. Just go try it. Go try your luck. You know, I'm like, what? I hate to hear people say that. My vote doesn't count. It's not going to count anyway. So what? If you think it doesn't.
Right. Just do it.
Just try it. You know, haven't you tried something in life and didn't think it was going to work? Heck, I tried a relationship with my husband and it just happened to work. And so I'm just saying, try it, because right now I think we need about 5 more seats to take back the House. But we got to make sure we maintain the seats that we have, but we need to take some other seats. And if we're in this battle to where, our messaging and people are not getting out to vote, then it's kind of hard for us to fix the roads with the monies that we need to fix it with, because the Republicans are not playing fair right now. They're just not playing fair.
I don't know. Do they drive the same roads we drive?
They do. And to be and people are losing their lives. This is crumbling infrastructure. What I would
bridges, all of those things. And I mean, it takes you longer. It's aggravating.
Yeah.
People, are driving more reckless because they're aggravated. You're caught in traffic, or you got to go, a different route. You start out one way. It takes you longer. And it is frustrating. And everywhere, look like this summer, they were working everywhere and they still are. I mean, coming here today,
94. And 94 is always a project.
A mess.
It's like, they've been working on 94 since I was a kid. I'm like, shouldn't it be finished?
And it looks like every year they're working on 94.
Every year. So, everything that people have proposed, and I mean, there has been some very intelligent ways of addressing this issue, but it's just about, will the Republicans take it up? And where are we now? And so right now.
So does that fall on the House or in the Senate?
It could pass. It could pass. It falls on all of us.
Okay.
It can pass the House chamber, and then it could go to the Senate.
And then it has to go to the Senate, and then it can flop.
It can flop, and the Senate may say, "No, we're going to run our own bills." And so there have been times where there's been a standoff.
We all get along?
And that's what I say. I'm trying to figure out, how do we fight on issues? I mean, we all got to die, right? And so we all get sick. And I just wonder, how do we even fight on prescription costs? How do we fight on the roads? How do we fight on educating our kids?
Right.
But I think when it all boils down to it, is corporations versus the little guy. It's like, who gets the money? Where is the money going? And so don't get me wrong now. The Republicans, I have to tell you, they can think very logical. Democrats are not all the smartest people. And so you do have Republicans that want to work with Democrats. You do have Democrats that want to work with Republicans. But it can also flip. Where Democrats can be very selfish and Republicans be very selfish. It's like a marriage.
Yeah.
We just have to find out, where can we honeymoon at?
Right. I know. I watch Representative Sherry Dagnano.
Sherry's
and she's so
everywhere.
passionate about education.
She is.
And I mean, I've watched her almost literally in tears sometimes talking about the education and, things that are not getting done for our children. And that's not just in the inner city, But
that's a problem now throughout the state of Michigan.
Yes,
it really
so
is. It's just that our kids and I have to say, unfortunately, my kids are in DPS. And after my daughter graduated, I sat in my car and I boo-hooed because I said, as a legislature, you want to be that team player. But one of the worst things I did with this huge transitioning that has happened within DPS is keeping her where she was. You know, because the resources just wasn't there like I needed for them to be there. But I was thinking, well, I'll get this extra tutoring and so on done. And my daughter was just like, Ma, I don't want to go to school all day and then come home and have to tutor. And then my weekends are full of tutoring.
Right.
And so, you know, I've kind of swung it with her, and then now I'm looking at my son who asks to leave the system as well, and I'm like, oh, where do you find yourself at? So yeah, the issues within our public school system, they're very real, and as a mother, I'm seeing it myself. Because even now, I'm having to have her to go back and say, hey, I need you to kind of review some of your coursework to kind of get up to par with where you need to go. So unfortunately, Black kids are feeling the pinch of this. The resources are gutted out of our schools. But you know, one of the bills that I have is dealing with the DDA, and I get a lot of ridicule on that. Just speaking with a Republican the other day, and he has something to deal with the Brownsville, and these are where certain projects capture our tax dollars, but they're capturing money out of the school aid fund. And so the reason right now that Detroit schools are not really benefiting is because they built an arena downtown. So a lot of times we don't want to really talk about what's really going on. I mean, the mayor is who he is. I don't shade the mayor at all. I like Mayor Duggan for whatever he does. But when it's all said and done, we built an arena when we really needed that money put back into our schools, because DPS is paying off a DPS O-code is paying off a ODET. So there is no new revenue, because the new revenue that would have come into Detroit Public Schools, it's going downtown for the Downtown Development Authority. And so a lot of people don't know that. But if you're not getting out advocating, just sitting behind a mic or sitting at a coffee hour or community meeting, you need to be at city council. You need to be calling the mayor. You need to be calling your governor. You need to call your legislator, your senator. And you don't have to just call us. If I'm already on your side, bypass me. I'm rolling with you. Trust me, because I'm feeling the pinch myself.
Right.
And it's really sad. And this is something I have to deal with every day, saying I really was a disservice to my daughter keeping her in this situation that I was hoping would have gotten better by now.
And then from a federal level, it doesn't get any better, because, you know, the person that's over the education, Beth DeVos. Betsy DeVos.
Well, you know, charters, but I mean, again, we still have a role at the local level.
Right.
I always try to think of it, we need those federal dollars, but we got to make sure that our local dollars are being spent wisely as well. So I try to just kind of do housekeeping first. If I can hold city council feet to the fire, the current superintendent, my legislator, and my senator, I'm doing my job. But when you are we get caught up in our own world of my daily agenda, but there are some kids, there are some families, there are some seniors who ultimately depend on us. And so that means that you got to come out of your comfort of your everyday schedule and say, I'm going to give dinner up this weekend. I'm going to go testify this week, whether it be in Lansing or city council, or I'm going to have some coffee with Dr. Vitti about what's going on in our current system. And walk into some of these schools, ask to volunteer, you know, to kind of help the kids out. Now, I can't do it all the time. It was a time I was doing it, but they hate to see me coming. I got to the point I was like, okay, I even hate to see me coming, because they didn't want to see me coming. So I'm like, I'm not going to come back anymore. I'm just going to call, because y'all don't want me. Y'all really don't want volunteers like you say you do. But, you know, with it being said, your legislators, we really need you
Well,
to come up and testify, to write letters, to call, and let your voices be heard. Not just your vote. We need some momentum going on within the Black community.
Right, absolutely.
Okay.
Well, let's talk a little bit. We got a few minutes left before we go. Let's talk a little bit about the 2020 census and why it's so important for people to actually fill out the census, or, a lot of people are afraid to allow people to come into their homes, but there is some, paperwork for people to fill out if they don't have someone actually come to them.
Well, it just depends on if you feel like you need help. There are a lot of organizations that can assist you with the 2020 census. And people, we have the internet. Like right now on Facebook, there is multiple groups that is handling the 2020 census.
Right.
Just my whole thing with the 2020 census, it's straight to the point. People mean dollars. You fill it out, we get money.
That's right.
$1,800,
if I'm not mistaken, they're saying we will lose for the next 10 years.
Yes.
$1,800 per person.
Yes. So if you don't
That's
fill
a
it
lot
out,
of money.
That's a whole lot of money. Especially if you got a population of over 700 and something thousand within just the city of Detroit alone. So don't fill it out. And you see, I mean, that's your schools, that's your infrastructure, those roads that we talk about. So we can connect when we talk about people mean dollars. If, in fact, like the governor did 147 line item vetoes, I don't really think she meant it. We just got caught in a little pinch here. But if, in fact, the school we'll just say the roads was hit $380-something million. If there were some federal dollars that would match that, then we would lose out on those federal dollars.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So it's not just the state dollars, it's the federal dollars when you don't participate in things. Get over the fear. We cannot move in fear. Fear is of the enemy. I don't know, whoever your enemy is, that's who fear is of. You know what I'm saying?
It is.
But just, it's not hard. It's like if you go register for school, right? You need some assistance for school. You filling out paperwork to get Pell Grants,
right?
That's federal dollars. They're really not asking to. They ask your race on those applications. Get over it.
Yeah.
Fill it out so we can get the money that's due unto us. So when you try to figure out, I just don't like being a part of a group that complains.
Yes, right.
Be proactive. Fill that paperwork out.
And you don't have to worry, even if you have been incarcerated. I think that, some of the fears of people feeling like, well, they're going to know where I live. And and
I don't know where you live anyway.
That's right. I owe tickets. You're on Facebook every day. All of these other, social media sites, they know who you are.
I mean, for real, all you have to do is Google somebody's name.
That's it.
Are you living under an alias?
Hey, you can find their house.
and that's true, because the other day when I first bought my house, I was so embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, I wish Google would take this house off, because I had a tarp. I was getting a new roof.
Right.
And so the satellite got one of the worst pictures. So when you look up Representative Garret, my house shows up with this tarp on it, right? So I'm like,
so you got a roof now, right?
I have a roof. So I'm just saying, when you Google my name,
right,
you can find me.
That's right.
Absolutely. I mean, and that's look, people, fill the paperwork out, because there is no place to hide.
That's right. We need the money, okay?
We need the money. So just remember, people mean dollars.
Amen.
With the 2020 census.
Well, Representative Garret.
I'm sorry. I'm out of breath now.
You can see she's so passionate and energetic. I love it.
Oh,
thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, for coming on a Saturday.
Come back.
Yes, you can.
Okay. All right. I hope you all on Facebook keep your negative comments to yourself, But to the Facebook audience, I love you. And if any of the voters in House District 7 is watching, it is my last term, but it has been a great journey.
Now, when is it over?
Public service. Going into the cycle of 2021, January 1st, 2021.
Oh, okay, so we've got you for a whole year, another year. Okay, all right, real good.
It's going to be real good. Yes.
Well, we just thank for those of you that have been listening. Hopefully you have taken some copious notes, and if you want to get in touch with her, if you're in her district, the 7th district, please do reach out to her. If there's any questions, any concerns that you have, we do want you to be able to take advantage of her while she is here, because you can see she's a fighter.
I go hard for my people.
And so we just thank God for her and her life. And before I want to go, I always got to talk about my book, Amen, Sisters. So I do want, for those of you that came to the writers workshop last week, we thank you so very much. It was excellent. Sylvia Hubbard, thank you so much for all of the information you poured out. It even inspired me even the more to take my book and all of the other things that I'm getting ready to do to another level. So please, if you haven't gotten this book, it is a journal to give you hope, encouragement, empower you, and give you faith and love and just everything that I think that you as a woman would need as my journey, and it will be your journey once you read the book, okay? So we thank you for listening today. This has been a wonderful opportunity to sit here with the State House Representative, Democratic Representative LaTanya Garret. And we just thank for you. Again, those that have watched us, we'll be here again next week. Nope. Yeah, we got one more week, and then we're off for 2 weeks. So we got one more week. We'll be here with Prophet Beverly Jordan, and we're going to be talking about housing and real estate and how you can make money in business, okay? So we thank you. We'll see you again next week. Have a wonderful weekend. This has been the Marketplace Connection signing off. Have a great day. Bye-bye.
This month, only at Northland Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram. Check out our amazing monthly specials. Drive off with your 2019 Jeep Compass Limited 4x4, only $179 a month. Or the 2019 Ram 1500 Bighorn, only $198 a month. The 2019 Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo, only $199 a month. Or the 2019 Dodge Journey GT all-wheel drive, only $199 a month. That is only at Northland Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram, only while stocks last. Terms and conditions apply. The Marketplace Connection, brought to you by the Northland Chrysler Jeep Dodge and Ram.